Building a better Bay Area. Moving forward, finding solutions. This is ABC 7 News.
Hi there, I'm Kristen Z. You're watching Getting Answers live on ABC 7 and wherever you stream. We're asking experts your questions every day at 3 to get answers for you in real time. Today, the latest on the investigation into a serial killer who targeted gay men in San Francisco in the 1970s. The host of the Doodler podcast is sharing where this infamous cold case stands right now. Also, from our media partner, the San Francisco Standard, a Lowell High School student who didn't sit idly when school was shut down last year. She trained herself to become a sought-after nail technician, and you've got to see her manicure designs. But first, Governor Newsom has just launched a new advisory council on physical fitness and mental well-being. There's some Bay Area luminaries on the list who might know a thing or two about fitness. Soccer World Cup champion Brandi Chastain, Olympic figure skating champion Kristi Yamaguchi, and 49er legend Ronnie Lott. Check out Ronnie in action. Do you remember those days? Joe Montana, Dwight Clark, so many Super Bowls. In fact, Ronnie Lott has 4 Super Bowl championship rings. He is one of the greatest safeties in the history of football. Now he is an investor, broadcaster, and philanthropist. So welcome to the show, Ronnie Lott. Hi, Ronnie.
Hello, how are you?
Goodness, I'm doing great. I am so honored and excited that you're here. I didn't embarrass you with that big introduction, did I?
No, not at all. You know what? It looks like black and white, television to me, but
oh, I think you got to adjust your TV there. Yeah, no, you know what? You were amazing. Whether it was black and white video or color, it was just. Those are the days. And look, you definitely know about fitness, Ronnie. So when I saw that you and first spouse Jennifer Siebel Newsom are co-chairs of the Governor's Advisory Council on Physical Fitness and Mental Well-Being, we decided we definitely had to have you on. So tell us how this came about.
Well, it came about with the idea of trying to help young people. And I've been doing that for such a long time. I'm very excited about the opportunity to help so many young people throughout California. And then on top of that, I think when you think of the governor and you think of the first lady and knowing what they are trying to accomplish, I think what they're trying to make sure is that we have a healthy group of kids that are trying to find ways to use their imagination, to be able to create, to be able to find ways to get back to having joy and just laughing and having fun. I think one of the great things that I love when I watch the Warriors, it's not the way that they play basketball, it's the way that they enjoy the game and the way that they go out and have fun. And so that's what we're hoping to try to do, is to make sure that kids have fun, they enjoy it, and more importantly, that they're really, excited about competition and excited about understanding how to lose and excited about all the good things that come along with sports.
Yeah, and that is so important, because we've reported a lot about seeing a measurable decline in physical fitness and mental health due to the pandemic, but especially in kids. So tell us, I know you're just starting and there are probably a lot of ideas, but what kinds of tangible things can you see that you'd like to push as part of this initiative to really make a positive difference?
Well, first of all, it starts with just reaching down and talking to young people. I mean, one of the things that I know that all of us can do is to make sure that we can encourage kids to just understand how to do that. And then the other thing that I would say that is very common is, as we're seeing right here, teaching. And so, when you're teaching and helping kids understand the motivation of why you should have fun in sports, I think that that's key as well. So we have a lot of great people that are equipped to be able to make those things happen. And I think one of the great things that when you have teammates like I have, especially when you mentioned Brandi and Kristi, those two in themselves, when you think about what they were able to accomplish, to me, they're the gold standard. And they're the gold standards because they understand not just the game, but they understand life, and they understand how to win, and they understand how to be in the huddle. They understand losing. They understand so many great qualities. And so for all of us, we're going to get a chance to learn. I get a chance to learn from them, and they're going to get a chance to learn from so many great young people out there, because kids out there have their stories as well.
All right, Ronnie, keep us posted as you start to roll out initiatives and
Thank
messages
you.
in the coming months. But I know you've also, you're big fans from the 49er days. They're all wondering, what kinds of things are you doing? And I know you've been really busy with your own charity, and that is All Stars Helping Kids. I know you provide a lot of support to nonprofits doing good work. Tell us what you guys do there.
It's pretty simple. What we try to do is give people chances. And I think one of the great things is that when you're in a huddle with the group that are like the groups that we have, they're rookies. And what we find a lot of times is that when you have rookies in your camp, they need resources. They need to learn. They need to expand themselves. They need to understand how they can get better. And so what we try to do is bring all of those resources. And we try to find ways to make sure that they're equipped so they can move to the next level. And really, when you think about life, that's what you're really trying to do. Is you're trying to do that with young people. You're trying to do that with business leaders. You're trying to do that with all types of people, because once you show them an opportunity in their life where they can grow and get better, they will take it and they can run with it.
All right, Ronnie, I got to ask you this. 49ers had the tough loss to the Rams in the NFC Championship game. I know that broke your heart.
Yes, it did.
Right? All signs are that the Niners will trade quarterback Jimmy Garoppolo. What are your thoughts on the Jimmy G era for the 49ers, like how he changed it and what will be remembered?
Well, imagine this. You're a quarterback and you go to the Super Bowl 2 times. And you go 2 times, and by the way, you do it in 3 years. And so there's something to me that maybe we're kind of missing. And what I mean by that is that when you win, there's a reason why you win. And sometimes I think we get lost in the fact that last game, for example, to me, that game should have been won because of the defense. And the reason it should have been won because of the defense is that they had the lead. And so you have to count on everyone. And I think when you think of Jimmy and what he was able to do and taking this team twice to the playoffs, possibly getting to the Super Bowl 2 times, to me says a lot about what he was able to bring to this team.
Yeah.
Of course, there's going to be all of these speculations, but to me, it's hard to let him go, because I think that he's a guy who has shown that he could play and he can find ways to win. And he was able to go to Green Bay and win a big game.
Yeah.
I mean, a big game against the #1 team.
Well, yeah, Ronnie, as you talk about defense, I can't help but to think, is anybody out there thinking, Ronnie, suit up just for this one game, just this one game? Okay, I want to...
We will.
Did you say you will?
That's not what we want.
Okay. All right, I'm going to take this a little more, turn toward a more serious topic here for a moment, because it's in the headlines today, and that is the NFL continues to wrestle with racial equality, right? Highlighted by the lawsuit filed by the fired Miami coach Brian Flores, accusing the league and teams of discriminating against him and other black coaches in hiring. What is your perspective on this?
My perspective is that I wish Bill Walsh was still here. And the reason I say that is that Bill had a game plan. He had laid out an opportunity to make sure that none of this would happen. He found a way to make sure that guys could, not only understand what to do in terms of coaching, but how to interact with the executives of these teams. So to me, I miss him, but I know that he had a plan. He had 2 great coaches, Denny Green, Ray Rhodes, that actually went on to coach and were phenomenal at doing that. And so there are some things that we can learn from Bill, and there's some things that I know that we should look back at and try to use some of those things. And then the other person, Dr. Harry Edwards, is by far one of the best that I know, and what he was able to help us do with the 49ers. And so you have people like that out there, and the league needs to find a way to figure out how to institute some of the things that they saw what Bill was able to do and some of the things that Harry's been able to do, and really kind of get this back going in the right direction, because there are too many great black coaches that really need a chance and really need an opportunity. And to me, that's what we're fighting for. And we're fighting for the fact that you got some guys that are really great at what they do and they love what they do, and they haven't been able to get a shot.
Oh, Ronnie, thank you so much for that. I know we lost your video. Otherwise, I would talk to you for another 15 minutes if I could. But before you go, just real quick take. Super Bowl, Rams or Bengals?
I'm going Bengals. And the reason I'm going Bengals, it's hard for me to go for the Rams.
Totally. I agree with you. Hey, thank you so very much, Ronnie Lott. It's great talking with you. Congratulations on being part of the Governor's Council on Physical Fitness and Mental Well-Being. We hope to talk to you again soon.
Thank you very much. You have a great one.
Thank you. 49er great, Ronnie Lott there. All right, coming up next, San Francisco police may be close to solving a nearly 5-decade-old serial killer mystery. We're talking to the host of the Doodler podcast after the break. All right, everybody, thanks for joining us today. Stick around. I'm going to take a short break, drink some water, prepare for my next interview. Be right back. Okay, we're good. Today, we're taking you back to the 1970s San Francisco. For many, it was a cultural hub that was full of life. For others, there were fears of a serial killer targeting gay men. Investigators believe the Doodler killed at least 5 people, possibly a 6th. He got the nickname because he sketched pictures of men before luring them to their eventual deaths. Nearly 50 years later, this case remains unsolved. But just last month, police gave us a big update. And joining us live to talk about it is San Francisco Chronicle reporter Kevin Fagan. Fagan is also the host of the podcast, The Doodler. Kevin, thanks for your time today.
Thanks for having me.
So San Francisco police just doubled the reward for information leading to this killer who, I mean, this is so strange, right? Because it's been so long. He may or may not be alive. What's behind it?
Well, the investigators at the cold case unit in San Francisco police believe that they've made some good headway on this. They just need a few more tips to push this thing over the line. They added a probable 6th victim named Warren Andrews to the list of people that they're pretty sure the Doodler killed. And there's some evidence in that case that has some real promise, possible DNA connections to the other killings. And if they can get a hit on some of that, it would help a lot. If they can get a tip from this $200,000 reward now, which is double what they had offered a couple of years ago, they're hoping they can put something together. I mean, it's been almost 50 years. There's a lot of time on a cold case like that where things can go bad. But I think they're making headway.
For those who don't remember, tell us about Andrews. I understand he was assaulted and found at Land's End and then died several weeks later, right? Tell us a little bit more about him and how he had similarities to the Doodler case.
Yeah, he was a lawyer, a bird watcher, and he wound up being found beaten nearly to death out at Land's End, down just below the USFF ship memorial. And he was under some bushes. It was alongside the water, up a cliff up, but alongside the water. And it had all the hallmarks of a Doodler killing. It was a gay hookup spot at a time in the early and mid 70s when gay men would go to the bushes and the beach and places, because there were still sodomy laws on the books. You had to kind of hide if you were going to, try to hook up with other guys. And the theory was that the Doodler pulled out the knife, went to stab him, and he lurched up and fought with the guy. I mean, he was a merchant marine. He was a pretty big guy. And the Doodler lost the knife and went tumbling off the cliff. So the Doodler picked up the nearest thing he could find to finish the job, which was a tree branch and a rock. And he just beat the heck out of Andrews and left him there for dead. And Andrews then was flown up to Seattle by his family. And several weeks later, he just never woke up again. He died of the injuries.
It is so sad. The victims, as you said, were all gay white men, right? So do investigators have a profile of the killer?
Yeah, they have a pretty good idea of who he seemed to be. The prevailing theory was that he was wrestling with his feelings of homosexuality. This is how they put it back then. And of course, being a serial killer, he had some mental issues, some kind of psychosis. And so the theory is that he was picking up these guys in bars, making doodles of them, hence the name Doodler, taking them out to hookup spots, starting to have sex, having some of the sex. It's really unclear how far this went, and then killed them. So it's like you're going out to act on your impulses, and then killing the guy that you did this with is almost like erasing them. I mean, it's a twisted way of thinking at it. Yeah. And of course, everyone who's conflicted about their homosexuality, or who was conflicted about it, did not go out and kill people. It's just bizarre and very sad.
But revisiting this case reminds us how different the atmosphere was just a little over 40 years ago. Has there ever been an actual suspect named?
There was a suspect, not named by name, but there was a suspect the two main investigators back then circled in on. There was this famous homicide team, Rete Guilford and Earl Sanders. Sanders later became chief, but they were the first black homicide team in San Francisco, and they worked this thing pretty hard. They got some good tips, kind of triggered by that sketch you have up there, because there were a couple of survivors of the Doodler's later attacks who generated this sketch. That generated a tip, generated another tip. They went and interviewed the man who they were pointed to. They had a pretty good idea they had the right guy. They couldn't nail it in. There wasn't any really good evidence left at the scene. Didn't drop a wallet, didn't drop a ring or a watch or anything. And DNA wasn't even a thing back then. Right. So much has developed technology-wise that will hopefully lead them to the killer. But have you talked to family members since this latest development? Yeah, it's they're hoping. I talked to Warren Andrews' sister, and I had a conversation with Jay Stevens' sister. Jay was this wonderful drag queen performer at the bars back then. There were dozens of bars. Great. It was a great scene of gay liberation and performance and freedom, and also of oppression, because, like I said, this was back when sodomy laws were on the books, cross-dressing laws were on the books. It was a tough time. But the family is hopeful. They're not cautiously hopeful, I guess you could say, because it's been so long. But the cold case cop who's pursuing this, Dan Cunningham, he's in this 8-part podcast series I did that ran just before the summer. He's hitting it hard, and he's given them hope, because he pulled this thing off the shelf several years ago, just a few years ago actually, and brought it forward in a way that hasn't been done in decades.
Well, Kevin, thank you so much for talking about this case. The Doodler, the podcast, is at thedoodlerpod.com. I do hope folks will check it out, because it is fascinating and important, and again, some new elements there. Kevin Fagan, thank you so much for your time.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Coming up next, more than just a hobby. A San Francisco high school student is getting a lot of attention for her thriving nail art business. We'll be right back. All right, everybody, thank you so much for sticking around. Wow, that's a really big case. It was really making news last week when police announced that they had upped the reward from $100,000 to $200,000. So they definitely have new stuff to work with and are looking for leads. So check out Kevin Fagan's podcast. All right, taking a short break and be right back with a wonderful, heartwarming story. ABC7 is excited about our partnership with the brand new San Francisco Standard. Part of Building a Better Bay Area is highlighting those who are working toward the same mission we have here at ABC7. The Standard's deep and insightful reporting on the city does just that. And today we bring you a wonderful story, a story of making the best out of a bad situation. As you know, San Francisco Unified Schools were closed for the most part all last year to in-person learning. But a Lowell High School senior decided she would take learning into her own hands, literally.
It all started when it was like quarantine and I couldn't get my nails done at a salon. So I decided to do nails myself, and I started off with like polygel.
Yes, joining us to share this story is San Francisco Standard's Director of Multimedia, Sophie Bearman. Hi, Sophie.
Hey, Kristen, thanks for having me.
Oh my gosh, of course, I just love this. Who is that incredible 17-year-old we saw there?
Yeah, so that is Jianna Cariño. She is a 17-year-old at Lowell High School here in San Francisco. And just like you said, you know, she was at home for a majority of the pandemic, learning from home. She'd always had a hobby for nails and a passion for art, but she decided to sort of leverage that chance to be at home to start her own nail business from her parents' garage in Visitation Valley.
What? Okay, before we go any further with this amazing story, do we call her a manicurist, nail technician? I mean, I think nail artist is more appropriate.
Such a great question. She says nail technician. I think she would love nail artist too. And, you know, down the line, she wants to go to cosmetology school, learn eyelashes. So she's just really excited about that whole field.
That is just incredible. Okay, so you said she's always known, she was a kid, that she enjoyed doing nails. And during the pandemic, she decided to turn a hobby into a business. Like, how do you even get started with a business? Do you just go to friends and family and then word of mouth? What does she do?
Yeah, she started with friends and family, definitely. I mean, already her family members knew that she had a talent for doing nails. She tells a story of being like 6 or 7 and locking the door of her home bathroom and just painting her own nails, and her aunts being like, you know, just amazed by what she would come out with. So she did start with friends, but now she has an Instagram page, Nails by Jianna, and you know, some people that have found her online as well.
Okay, look at this. This is video that you guys shared with us. Okay, these are some of her incredible designs. And then your nails are kind of like the canvas, you know? And then you saw the garage, of course, that you talked about being her home salon, if you will. How much does she charge? Do you know? I mean, I imagine this must take a lot of time to do each one.
It is actually extremely time consuming. We were there filming with her, and you know, just doing one person's acrylic nails can take 3 to 4 hours. So it's definitely a range. She does ask for a deposit when you book with her of $10, and then she said the rest is kind of a range depending on what the customer wants. But I do think for Jianna, even more than the money, this has really just been a boost for her self-confidence. She did describe herself as someone who was a little bit shy at school, especially at a place like Lowell, which is historically really academically rigorous. And although she is great at math and science and she loves philosophy, she sort of found herself coming out of her shell with the nail art that she's doing.
You know, you mentioned Lowell High School, and I think this part is interesting, that she has indicated herself that this is kind of an atypical career to go to cosmetology school and want to become a nail artist, you know, because it's a high achieving academic school and you have a lot of would-be doctors and lawyers and Silicon Valley programmers.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And that's one of the reasons that we really loved this story, is that, you know, there are a lot of kids at Lowell, and that's great, who see themselves on a pretty straight track, you know, to some, you know, certain colleges. Maybe they want to become doctors. Jianna never really saw that for herself. And actually her parents at first were a little bit skeptical about this, you know, business of hers. They thought, is this the right use of her time? But she said that they've totally come on board once they've seen how she's learned, you know, marketing skills. And of course, every, you know, client that she has, she improves her craft. So she's pretty set now on cosmetology school for herself.
Just amazing. The Instagram account is Nails by Jianna. Folks, check it out. Sophie, don't go away. We can continue to chat on Facebook Live, but I want to let folks know that we have links to the San Francisco Standard's other original reporting on our website, abc7news.com. And to watch more of their videos, check out our ABC7 Bay Area streaming TV app. We'll be right back. And Sophie is still with us from the Standard with this great story of a girl who really made the most of the pandemic when schools were closed. Sophie, I just want to thank you once again. I was going to chat with you more, but we got some breaking news I got to get to. You know how it goes. So thanks again for sharing, and I hope folks will check out the story on your website.
Thanks so much. Take care.
Take care. Breaking news, Governor Newsom has just announced the indoor mask mandate will not be renewed when it expires on February 15th in 8 days. He tweeted, California's case rate has decreased by 65% since our Omicron peak. We'll have a lot more on this dropping of the mask mandate on ABC 7 News at 4.